Okay. So I'm just getting a darker shade. I'm working on the pink area right now. Sometimes it takes several layers for it to do what I want it to. But a lot of times it's just trial and error, playing around with stuff and just not being afraid to. I don't do this every single painting. It's just some of the colors that I'm looking for. I can't get the effect with just acrylic. But now if I go over top of it with a little bit of watercolor, then I can get the color I'm wanting to achieve. And as you can see, I left, now I'm going to move on to the purple, and then I'll lightly go over the skin, and it may not show up as well on camera as it does in reality. I may not have the proper lighting in here, but it's just I don't have a light directly over where I paint. Okay, I clean my brush, and it's clean water. And this is the color of purple that I'm using. You probably can't, it probably looks blue on your screen unless it's right next to blue. But it kind of dry. I've got a lot of pigment on the brush to get that dark. If you can hear that noise in the background, that's my cat. She's sleeping. She makes all kinds of noises. She follows me everywhere. She's asleep right now, but if you hear some strange noises, it's her. Okay. And two, I've said it before, I prefer using that Yes canvas because it doesn't really have a texture. I'm going to darken that just a little bit with that purple. See, it's just trial and error. Okay, so I'm still working in these little violets. Whoa, I got too much water in that watercolor. And if you do that, some people use toilet paper to dry their brushes, but I've got an old towel that's just wore out. I'm going to leave that alone. But you know, just deep and close to the flower. And I kind of, you know, flower petals are kind of round. So I try to conform my brush to the shape of whatever it is I'm working on. It makes it nice and smooth. And some people, they just kind of lift the color up. I don't do it that way. And you can do it however you want to. Like I said, it's just trial and error. Figuring out what works for you. I'm just sharing how I do things. And two, to be honest with you, it would never... I know this video will probably end up being long, and I'm slowly learning, you know, how to cut video, and I'll probably eventually start making 2 separate videos, like one will be time-lapse. I'm getting better though. Technology is not really my friend, but I'm getting better. But I will probably start doing real-time. I consider this real-time even though I'm not. I'm cutting and editing and not letting you see what I'm doing 100% of the time, but if I do anything different, I always tell you. I'll just go ahead and lightly do the rest of that one. My nose is a little bit stopped up, so I hate to keep sniffling. It's really cold here today. It's only 28 degrees outside. Whenever it's like that, it tends to get a little bit cold in my art studio, because I'm above the garage. Again, I'm still using that purple, the watercolor. Okay. I think that's just about as much as I like that, and I think that looks good. I'm going to go back over that spot right there just a little. Let me go over this background just a little bit. Okay. Now, here's where I do a little bit of the skin. Sometimes I use different colors, and then if I make it darker than what I want, I'll just lift it or put a little bit of acrylic in there, because I always have a little bit of white acrylic on my palette over here on the side. Okay, I probably should use a smaller brush, and what I was saying a minute ago, I kind of go around the outside like this. It's like a dark pink, and you may can see that on the camera, and then you may not can. I don't know. If I see it starting to leave like a line, I can't stand those lines. That's usually when I'll pick up a little bit of white and just kind of smooth around it. See, I've got too much water on the brush. But if you go over it while it's still a little bit wet with white acrylic, so yeah, you can see my fingers have got paint all over them. That's just the way I do things. You can use a tissue paper or whatever you want to use. I just use my finger because it's handy. Because while in that skin, you've kind of got to do it all at one time, because if that watercolor, I don't know, maybe it's just the canvas, but it seems to, sometimes I said I can't stand that line right there. And if you're not careful, the watercolor will leave a line. To me, it's easier to get off on canvas, but if I'm like on that vellum paper, bristle, or watercolor, if you don't get it off right then, you're not going to get it off. But, what I was saying a minute ago, as far as time, it takes me a long time to do paintings. This is going to be a 4x6. I've always said, when I'm working on smaller pieces like a 4x6 and the original art cards, I try to do a bunch at one time because it takes me so long. So that way I can do all the skin. Like if I've got 8 original art cards, I'll try to like work on like 6 or 7 at a time. And so I will do the skin in every one of them. Then I will go and, like if there was a purple color and I was going to use that in more than one, I can do it all at the same time. But I'm just doing these one at a time so I can do these videos for y'all. But I would say if I was working on just this alone and not filming myself and talking, because y'all can already see that I really like to talk, and I can't help that. That's a part of my southern personality. Well, I'm telling you what,